In this project diary, I will teach you how to grow courgettes, aka zucchinis, from seed in containers. Hi and welcome to Project Diaries. In today's video I'm going to teach you how to grow courgettes, aka zucchinis, from seed in containers. Now if you're from the UK, you may have noticed a lot of the supermarkets didn't have these on the shelves this year because even the farmers had a lot of problems with the adverse weather conditions in the UK and parts of Europe. So this year I'm going to try and grow them in containers. You may have noticed that I started these in my square foot garden last year. Even though they were really successful, they took up a hell of a lot of space for that square foot garden. So this year I'm going to grow them in containers. Now if you haven't got seeds already, I will leave you some Amazon links in the description link below. Obviously I don't sell any of these, so this is just a link to help you out to get a good supply of seeds. If you have grown these before and you want to harvest seeds from them, you basically just need to leave one on the vine and let it grow as big as a marrow, and then that's quite easy to harvest seeds from that for the following year. But anyway, I'm going to teach you straight how to do these in containers, and here's how to do it. So here are courgette seeds. They're quite big and easy to use. Now I'm just using a regular propagator seed tray. Now if you're interested in buying these online, I will leave the link to the place that I bought these at as well in the description box below. Now the rule of thumb when sowing any seeds is usually 2 to 3 times their own depth. Also, if you're wondering what soil I'm using, I use exactly the same thing for all of my seedlings, and that's just standard shop bought multi-purpose compost. Now courgette seeds are usually sown mid to late spring, but as always I like to get ahead of my planting, so I'm going to start these a few weeks early indoors. Once you've sown all the seeds into the holes, just pad the soil down gently but not too hard. Once you've done that, you just need to water them in. Now a lot of you keep asking what this green water is. It's basically just rainwater. The last things you want to do is make sure you label these up, put the propagator lid back on and place these on a warm windowsill indoors. Now courgettes are really sensitive to the cold, so make sure you sow these after your last frost. The seedlings should germinate and look like this a week later. And here they are again, just over 2 weeks. So I'm really surprised at how quick these grow. You can just see that they're already a couple of inches tall. But unfortunately, even though the weather looks really sunny today, the wind is still really cold and the evenings are too cold. So what I'm going to do is just transplant these into a bigger pot, and hopefully we can get some better spring weather next week. So I'm just going to transplant these now. So I'm really surprised these are this big at 3 weeks. But I'm just going to transplant them on like I usually do, with a yogurt pot that I've already put holes in. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of multi-purpose compost in the bottom. Just giving it a little shake so it's even. Then I'm just going to use a regular teaspoon to help me prise out the seedling. You just want to slide the spoon down so you're not disturbing too much of the root system, and try not to squeeze the stem or any of the leaves. As you can see, there's a lovely little root system growing here. So I'm just going to place it into the pot, lightly keep it between my fingers to keep it sturdy, and pour some compost around it. Now again, you just want to push the soil around the seedling to push out any air pockets. You don't want to push the soil down too tightly, but give the seedling enough stability in order to stand up for itself. I think that's the best I'm going to get this seedling, and it should straighten up once it's got used to being transplanted. The last thing to do is just water them in. Now as the weather is still changing here every day, you just want to keep an eye on these, and if the soil dries out at the top, water them again. If not, leave them a day or two. Here they are again after 4 weeks. And again at 5 weeks. So as you can see, these are growing really well. I can't believe that every single seed has germinated. I've now got too many plants compared to the amount of pots that I've got. So what I'm going to do, instead of putting these in the square foot garden, it's not advisable to do that due to the fact it takes up so much space. These will now grow out and just become really huge. So the best idea is to grow these in containers. Now I've got one here. I'd say 12 inches would be the smallest, 14 average, just go as big as you like. You want it quite deep because the root system is going to be fairly large on these. Now advisable, if you have grown or made your own homemade compost, it's great to use that. That means these aren't going to need fertilising at all because you'll have enough nutrients if you followed my compost guide. If you have used shop bought compost, you will need to fertilise maybe once a week, and you can use some of my other ideas of seaweed fertilisers or anything else that you feel like you need. So I'm just going to pop these on. I need to drill some holes in this because it needs some really good drainage, but I'm just going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to use the biggest drill bit that I've got to place some holes in this pot. Now there are 3 holes already marked out for me to drill into, but I'm going to drill a few extras just to make sure the drainage is really good. Now as these pots are really old and from Grandad's garden, I'm going to be really careful when drilling the holes in these because I used too much pressure last time and I cracked the plastic. Also, if you're growing anything edible in a plastic container, make sure it's made out of polypropylene and not polystyrene. There should be a number in a triangle on the base of most plastic items, and look for a number 5. Next up, I've got a bucket of my homemade compost and I've sifted all the big chunks out of it. Now this part is optional, but I'm going to use a cup of perlite to help with drainage. You can also use vermiculite, but if you haven't used either before, I'll leave Amazon links in the description box below. Now when pouring this on, make sure it's not windy because it will all blow away. But once you've done that, make sure it's thoroughly mixed in throughout the compost. Now if you're interested in making homemade compost, here's a link to my do's and don'ts tutorial. But if you feel like you don't have the time or the space to make your own homemade compost, please don't let this discourage you from growing your own vegetables in containers at home. You can simply still use multi-purpose compost bought from a store and use one of my fertilisers once a week once it starts to flower. So once the pot is full and the perlite is mixed in thoroughly, you just want to dig a slight hole in the centre. Once the hole's roughly the same size as the pot, give it a little tap on the base, give it a squeeze, and hopefully it should pop out easily. Now hopefully you haven't left your seedling too long in order for it to be root bound, but even if it has, you just want to pull out some of the roots gently. This will help them grow really strong and out into the new soil instead of going round and round in a pot shape. Once you've done that, place the seedling in the hole and push the soil around gently. Now the reason why I'm using perlite is because this will help with moisture problems and drainage. Then all that's left to do is make sure the soil has a really good watering. Now the reason why I say the soil is because it's a really bad idea to get the foliage wet. Doing so can cause fungus such as powdery white mildew. Now excessive rain can also cause this, but I'll show you how to treat it later on in the video. Now just keep an eye when you're watering. You don't want these to dry out or become waterlogged. So if your topsoil looks dry, you still may not need to water these, so poke your finger deep into the soil and check your moisture levels. Now courgettes love soaking up as much sunshine as possible, so place these in a sunny spot. Here they are a few days later. So a week after transplanting, these are starting to show signs of stress. This is because we've had a significant weather change and loads of rain and wind. Now as much as I can wish, I don't have any control over the constant change in weather in England. So the reason why these leaves are starting to go brown at the tips and crispy is due to overwatering. Now unfortunately I don't have anything to cover these with, or the shed isn't big enough for me to put these in, so I'm just going to have to sit it out. Hopefully we get some more sunshine soon and I won't water these at all, just to let them dry out. Now here they are after 8 weeks. Now some varieties can actually start fruiting at 8 weeks, but due to the fact we've had such bad weather and even a frost while I was away last week, these are really behind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video here. Mainly because these are going to take another couple of weeks just to go into the flower mode, and then a few more weeks on top of that to produce some courgettes, zucchinis. But what I will show you is that, I don't know if you can see this leaf damage here. This has turned brown and crispy on the edge, mainly because this has started off because it's overwatered because there's so much rain, but it's also at the fact that it's wind burnt. I've left them in the part of the garden that got a lot of wind over the past few weeks, and it's burnt quite a lot of these leaves. And if you can see this one, I don't know if you can check, but there's slightly small little dots on there. This is powdery white mildew. Now I have done a video on this previously, and if you want to see that, you can check in the video above. But as I say, I'm going to end the video here because I genuinely believe these might even die with any more cold weather. But I'm going to try and rescue them, and I'll do another follow-up as soon as I've produced some sort of zucchini or courgettes. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. That's how to grow courgettes or zucchinis from seed, and I'll hopefully see you again next time. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video. Take care of yourself. If you'd like to keep up to date on all of my future releases, you can click the subscribe button here. Check out these links to some of my other videos. You can also check me out on any of these social media sites, and don't forget to share photos and ideas on my awesome Facebook gardening group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.